You know, whenever I scroll through YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, it feels like everyone else is rich, except for me. Seriously, the constant stream of luxurious vacations, fancy dinners, and designer clothes can be overwhelming. I really envy those people. I wish I could make as much money as they do. How much money do I want to make? Exactly as much as this family has. By the 10th century, Christianity had spread throughout much of Europe. Political power was invariably tied to religion, which made being a non-Christian very unfavorable. Perhaps the biggest victims of these circumstances were the Jews. Having no home state of their own to fall back to, the Jews were scattered throughout Europe. They are called diaspora. The Frankfurter Judengasse was the Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt and one of the earliest ghettos in Germany. From 1462 onwards, it confined all the Jews in the city to a single narrow street outside the city walls. The ghetto was not very encouraging. Back then, the buildings weren't distinguished by numbers, but by signs. The sign on one of those houses was a red shield, or Rothschild in German, and the family living in the house had gone by the same name since at least 1528. Frankfurt Jews are barred from farming, from handicrafts, even from dealing in nobler goods such as weapons, silk, or fresh fruit. In medieval Europe, Christianity forbade anyone from lending money with interest, leaving this otherwise profitable business into the hands of the Jews. Like most Jewish families at the time, the Rothschilds were involved in finance. Experience with money lending, and by extension anything relating to finance, was passed down generations. They specialized in exchanging currencies and trading collectible coins, and the best one of them all was Mayer Rothschild. Mayer Amschel Rothschild was born in 1744 in the Judengasse, one of 8 children. Mayer Amschel's father had a business in goods trading and currency exchange. He was a personal supplier of collectible coins to the Prince of Hesse. Both his parents died from smallpox when he was just 12 years old, and prior to that it was their wish that he become a rabbi. But that didn't happen. With the help of relatives, Mayer Amschel secured an apprenticeship under Jacob Wolf Oppenheimer at the banking firm of Simon Wolf Oppenheimer in Hanover in 1757. The grandson of Samuel Oppenheimer taught Rothschild useful knowledge in foreign trade and currency exchange, before he returned to his brother's business in Frankfurt in 1763. Through his teens he practiced commodities and money trading as well as sold rare coins. He discovers that trading gold coins and antiques could be much more lucrative. Mayer Rothschild quickly establishes himself as a shrewd trader and uncovers a brilliant strategy known today as front-running. His main client was Prince William of Hesse-Kassel. Whenever William wanted to purchase gold coins, he would ask Mayer Rothschild to obtain them from the market. What Rothschild did was this. He would first buy the coins using borrowed money, then sell them to Prince William, effectively acting as both the buyer and the seller. In doing so, he profited twice, once from the 8% commission fee, and also from front-running Prince William. By 1782, Mayer Rothschild has amassed a colossal fortune and earns the position as the investment manager for Prince William's vast wealth. Now, keep in mind, this was a common arrangement in Central Europe. The nobility would outsource their finances to Jews in exchange for protection, money, and sometimes even actual noble titles. For Mayer Rothschild, it's just the beginning. To expand, he dispatches 4 of his 5 sons to the great capitals of Europe, Vienna, Naples, Paris, and the jewel of the empire, England. We are told that of Mayer's 5 sons it was the third that made the most cash. His name was Nathan Mayer Rothschild. With £20,000, his father gave him as investment. That's the equivalent of over £2.2 million today. Perhaps not an insignificant sum to start a new venture abroad. Nathan plans to maximize it as quickly as possible by any means necessary. Nathan was a popular Manchester man, acquiring his first Manchester premises in 1799. He lived in Manchester for a decade, revolutionizing the burgeoning textile trade through his use of ready cash to buy up large quantities of materials and his reliance on a network of family and friends to ship Manchester goods throughout Europe. Nathan established Rothschild Brothers in 1799 as commission agents to coordinate the supply of British textiles to the continental market for his father's account. He built up an impressive reputation as a successful merchant operating on the principle of high turnover and modest profits, taking advantage of the opportunity to bypass the middlemen and purchasing textiles direct from the manufacturers, quickly turning the £20,000 with which he arrived into £60,000. He was soon trading on his own account. Encouraged by his success, Nathan probably registered as a merchant in London in 1804, moving to London to establish himself as a banker, founding N.M. Rothschild at New Court, St. Swithin's Lane in the City in 1809. The Manchester business was taken over by one of Nathan's clerks, Joseph Barber, and the company finally ceased trading under the Rothschild name in 1811. Temporary access to funds, invested by the Rothschild House in Frankfurt for William IX of Hesse-Kassel, greatly increased the scope of Nathan's London operations. These were based upon profitable speculation in British and foreign securities, and prominent dealing in foreign exchange and bullion. By 1812, Mayer Amschel Rothschild's health deteriorates rapidly. He soon realizes that death is inevitable. And to ensure the House of Rothschild remains prosperous, he urges his sons to put family unity first and above all. This is one of the foundations for the long-standing success of the Rothschild dynasty. Their strong bond as a family and their unique way of doing business are reasons they're still successful today. The Rothschild sons established their banking houses in different cities. Despite the distance, the brothers applied a unified strategy. They would loan out their money to the aristocracy and to local governments. The brother in France, for example, became the banker of Leopold I of Belgium, while the one in Vienna would lend money to last Holy Roman Emperor, Francis II. By 1814, Nathan was placed uniquely to fulfill the prestigious British government contract to purchase and transport gold coin to finance Wellington's army on the continent. After the latter's victory at Waterloo, the London House won a further contract to handle English subsidy payments to the European allies. The position of Nathan Rothschild as the leading city merchant banker was consolidated in 1826, when the firm stepped in, with an instant injection of gold, to save the Bank of England. Nathan's London House issued 26 British and foreign government loans between 1818 and 1835, and in 1824 floated the Alliance Assurance Company. On July 28, 1836, the unexpected happens. Nathan Rothschild, the wealthiest man in the world, dies at the age of 58. This was surprising because the Rothschild family was known for living long lives. Nathan Rothschild's death has a huge impact on the market, but the House of Rothschild lives on without him. Thanks to a decentralized banking system they have created, the banks of Rothschild's family continue to thrive. But now, they need a new leader. Nathan Rothschild's youngest brother, James Rothschild in Paris, becomes the commander-in-chief of the family dynasty. James was intellectually and temperamentally Nathan's equal. He also had the advantage of a better schooling. Even in acknowledging Nathan's leadership, James was less than deferential. Contemporaries remembered his quick wit, expressed in a heavy German accent, though the sharp tongue which went with it was not always benign. James was devoted to his extended family, but it was not beyond him to turn against any member whom he felt to have acted improperly. James Rothschild soon sets his sights on a new burgeoning industry, the railroads. James was persuaded by the Mayer brothers to invest in the railways. He ended up funding the famous Paris Saint-Germain line. He also invested in the line linking the capital with Versailles as well as various railway companies in England. Then the family linked up with various big rail investors in Spain and Italy. It was James, too, who would later be in charge of the group that founded the company des Chemins de Fer du Nord, the most successful of all such rail firms in France. Throughout the 1840s, the Rothschilds provide financing for many railway ventures, reaping substantial profits from commissions and trading railroad bonds and stocks. Of course, throughout the 19th century, the five branches also made many private investments, beyond their government loans. In 1868, they purchased one of the most valuable wine estates in France. In 1875, they acquired a minority stake in the Suez Canal from Egypt, while in 1883 they funded the development of the first major oil well in the Old World, challenging the Rockefeller monopoly in America. They also became majority shareholders in the diamond monopoly of De Beers and in Rio Tinto, one of the world's largest mining companies. But during the 20th century, the newer generations of the 5 Rothschild families made fewer and fewer successful moves. In 1900, the branch in Naples actually became extinct when the last male heir died without children, leaving his fortune to the branch in Paris. A somewhat amusing fate befell the branch in Germany. There the 2 Rothschild heirs had 11 girls and not a single boy, splitting up the fortune and disintegrating its power. The Rothschild branch in Austria was doing well, until Hitler came to power, of course. When Nazi Germany annexed Austria in 1938, the Rothschilds had to sell their banking operation for a fraction of its true worth. Most of them escaped with whatever liquid assets they had, but at least one was captured on his way out, and in fact, he was only released after paying the largest ransom in history at the time, $21 million. The ransom effectively bankrupted the Austrian Rothschilds, while the Nazis seized all their mansions, businesses, and art. A few years later, exactly the same thing happened to the branch in Paris. In fact, the collections they had were so exquisite that Hitler and Hermann Göring personally went there to observe them and to pick out what they liked. Through the detailed inventories compiled by the Nazis, we know that they seized a total of 5,003 objects from the Rothschild collections, and the vast majority of them were never returned. The French Rothschilds had some luck restoring their businesses after the war, but then the French socialists nationalized their bank in 1981. Still, the family was never exactly broke. We are told that these days the family fortune is still considerable, and it still has its fingers in many, many pies, with finance, real estate, mining and energy being some of the bigger pies. Some smaller businesses include things like owning wineries, of which the Rothschild own quite a few on different sides of the world. The family is also the proud owner of one of the biggest art collections in the world, and the mind boggles as to how much that collection is worth. There are many descendants in this family, and the wealth stays with them. You can easily find a list of all these descendants, and you'll see that here are way too many people for us to discuss in detail. For that reason, adding up what the entire family is worth is no easy feat, but people have tried do it. We might look at the Forbes Richest People list, which has few Rothschilds on it. Coming in at number 84 for 2018 was a man called Benjamin de Rothschild, and it said he has a net worth of about $1.7 billion. That's enough not to stress about the electricity bill and his 3 kids' school fees, but in terms of billionaires he is nothing special. But then Forbes tells us his job is to preside over the Edmund de Rothschild global finance empire, and that is said to manage assets of up to $170 billion, including banks, hotels, and restaurants. Benjamin also owns, or part owns, vineyards in France, South Africa, Argentina, and New Zealand. And as we said, this is just one guy in a very big family. No one Rothschild family member has an obscene amount of wealth, meaning no one Rothschild is about to match the wealth of people such as Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, but when you add all those assets together it does come to a lot of money. So, how much is the family worth? The mining, the finance, the energy, the arts, the wine, the properties? We must tell you that we don't feel after our little investigation that we could give you even a ballpark figure. The Financial Times doesn't even dare to state what it thinks the family is worth. Back in 2010 the newspaper said, the ownership structure is opaque, which makes it hard to estimate the family wealth, although it is one of the richest in the world. We know the net worth of the family is many, many billions, but hundreds of billions, or trillions. What we'd like to do now is ask you to give us a ballpark figure. Tell us in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you next time.